Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown. Joining me for this 12th episode is Andrew Meadows. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Good. I feel much better than I did yesterday. Yesterday we actually met up in Gainesville, saw a movie that we're going to be talking about this week, Only the Brave, but I was coming off of a night of a little bit of drinking and sleeping on a floor, which is very uncomfortable, so I was able to sleep in my own bed last night for about 12 hours, so I feel very refreshed. I feel ready to go for this episode.
Well, good deal, man. Did you see the Star Wars title?
I did. Ron Howard, the now director of the, as of recently, still untitled Han Solo movie, came out on Twitter announcing that they had wrapped production on the film, and he in this video basically had this card that revealed the proper title for the movie, which we now know is Solo, a Star Wars story. It's not a particularly exciting title by any stretch of the imagination. I think if I were going to place any bets on what the name of the movie would have been, it would have been this. It follows the naming scheme that we saw with Rogue One, and it's a movie about Han Solo, so kind of makes sense to have his name in the title. So
yeah, it's a cool name. I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good. Like I said, it's an appropriate title. I'm kind of intrigued by this movie. Obviously, it was a pretty big ordeal when, its two directors got fired basically 3/4 of the way through production, and then Ron Howard took over, and it kind of seems like things have relatively stabilized on the production front, but I am kind of curious to see how this movie turns out.
I'm a little worried.
I mean, I don't know that we need a Han Solo movie, but at the same time, Lucasfilm has certainly earned my trust with their leadership, so we'll probably get some, hopefully a trailer for this or something, because it's pretty close to coming out. I mean, they still haven't made any overtures towards delaying the release date, so as of now, it's still on track for late May in 2018, so it's really not too far off.
Damn, that's actually not bad at all. When do you think we'll get some promotional material?
Well, I mean, it is one of those things you don't really want to have, not that they're competing, but you don't want to have your two Star Wars movies really kind of overlapping too much in terms of marketing.
That's true, yeah.
And so I think that probably once the marketing machine for Last Jedi dies down, then you'll probably start getting it revved up for, the Solo movie. It's possible we get a teaser actually in front of The Last Jedi. I mean, that would probably be the most brand appropriate thing to do.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Whether or not they actually do that obviously remains to be seen, but I think that would probably make sense, and that puts them having a trailer in front of it, 5-6 months before it comes out, which
it'll keep that Star Wars high it'll keep it going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's cool. I think it's a good title. I think it's appropriate.
It's kind of a sterile title, you know what I mean? It's appropriate and it fits, but it's not anything out on a limb. I wonder if the directorial point of view is gonna be the same way with Howard directing it, you know what I mean?
I'm sure that there's a decided shift in tone from when Howard took over, because I think that was kind of the undoing of Lord and Miller, the original directors on it. It sounded like they were playing a little too fast and loose with the characters, and Lucasfilm kind of balked at their approach. So I think that bringing in, your workman-esque director and Ron Howard, I think, I mean, that's probably a fair comparison to make. It's probably more of a straightforward movie now, I would say, than perhaps what it was originally shaping up to be. And I mean, I don't think either of us is in any position to say whether that's a good or a bad thing.
No, it's just all speculation.
Right, and we'll never, as is the case with a lot of these things that go through big production reshoots or restructurings. I mean, even Rogue One did pretty much exactly this. Rogue One turned out pretty good. Is it possible that its original form was better? It's possible. Is it possible that its original form was much, much worse? Also possible. There's really going to be no way to determine whether this is a good move or not, but Lucasfilm has earned my trust, so if this is the way that they're playing it, they've given me no reasons to doubt them on this, so that's kind of where I stand on it.
Right.
I think that's probably a fair point. I mean, like I said, it's a clean title, pretty straightforward, doesn't really tell you anything about the movie other than it's got a title, so I guess, like I said, it's one step closer to being out the door, but that's pretty much it, right?
And it's about Han Solo. It's going to be a Han Solo movie.
And it's about Han Solo. Moving on to some other movie news, we got a motion poster for The Predator. Predator, I believe it's considered a sequel to Predator 1 and 2. And this is coming to us from director Shane Black, which is why I'm particularly interested in it. I mean, I like the Predator Well, I was going to say I like the Predator franchise, but I'm not even sure that that's really accurate. I mean, the first Predator movie I think is great. I really, really like the first Predator movie. The second one's not great. And then
there's some AVP.
The Alien versus Predator movies are not really good, but I really like the Predator design. And that's kind of really, I guess, the only thing that's consistent past the first movie.
That second AVP was pretty cool. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember it blowing my mind when I saw it.
It's bad.
Is it bad?
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh.
It's probably better than the first one by virtue of it not being PG-13. I mean, they kind of went back to the gore and violence that I think is far more appropriate for both Alien and Predator movies. But other than that, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's very dark. It's a very darkly shot movie. Like, you can't see shit in it.
Oh, well. I remember enjoying it when I saw it.
But I mean, this motion poster, does it do anything for you?
No.
It's got some Predator face with the mask, and it's constructed entirely from lightning bolts in the sky. I don't really know what's going on there.
It's such a gimmick, man. I don't understand. If you're going to take... I mean, it took time to make that. Obviously, it didn't take probably very long. You know what I mean? But I'd appreciate... Just give me a regular fucking poster or give me a teaser or something. You know what I mean? But I don't need to hear the sound of lightning and look at it in the shape of fucking Predator mask. You know what I mean? That doesn't do anything for me.
It's inoffensive to me. I don't really know exactly what's going on with the design in terms of kind of what it means for the movie. It's kind of a...
It's the medium that I have a problem with. I don't understand the point of a motion poster. You know what I mean?
Guess just add a little bit more visual flair than you'd get with your regular poster.
I guess.
Most motion posters, from what I can recall, are basically just the regular poster with some extra flair added on top of it. So I don't know if this is meant to be kind of the regular poster, the final image that we see with the Predator shape fully formed in the sky. But, I mean, honestly, I assume this is probably just them starting to rev up the marketing machine for this. Like, it would seem odd for them to just drop this and then just have radio silence for a while.
Well, does it have a release date?
Yeah, this is slated for August 2018, so it's a good ways away. So I don't know that it seems wholly appropriate to have like a teaser trailer come out just yet, but at the same time, I don't know, it just seems kind of weird to drop this and then call it a day.
And Shane Black, why does Shane Black put this on your radar?
Because Shane Black is a fucking awesome director who's directed one of my favorite movies of all time in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And he's also directed, most recently, he did The Nice Guys and then Iron Man 3, which I like, while acknowledging it's not exactly what I wanted out of an Iron Man movie. But I think as far as it being a Shane Black movie, it's really good.
Yeah, Shane Black's pretty good. Nice Guys was pretty awesome. So was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, though. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was excellent, too. That was a really good movie.
Yeah, so his name being attached is something that will definitely get me to poke my head in the door.
That, and of course, it's a Predator movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in a Predator movie, but, in the same way that I think that Ridley Scott making 50 Alien movies doesn't excite me anymore. Like, at one point, that might have excited me, but then I hear Ridley Scott's name attached to it, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore, man. I can't do it. Whereas having someone like Shane Black makes me more interested in it. I know he's got such a distinct filmmaking style. I don't really know how well it'll fit with a Predator movie, but the fact that clearly he's interested enough in making this movie, to me, suggests that there could be something pretty cool that lays in wait.
It'd be cool to have because he has like you said, he has a distinct personality to his movies. You know what I mean? And it would be cool to have that transitioned over into which I guess is pretty much I don't know if is it considered a horror movie? Action horror, maybe? I guess it can go both ways, you know what I mean? You have, it can go into an action movie, which we've seen that before with the original Predator, but it was kind of like an action horror movie.
I would be hard-pressed to call Predator movies horror movies, personally. I mean, I understand, I guess, there's elements of it, but say action's probably, I'd say, more appropriate, certainly across the board for the franchise.
He'll have a lot of comedic relief in the movie, I would imagine. You know what I mean? And it would be cool to see his personality come over into that genre.
Yeah, it's got a good cast, too.
Yeah, good director, good cast. With a good IP. It should be good, hopefully.
It seems like the recipe is there, so hopefully the final product turns out pretty good. That's pretty much it for movie news this week. So moving on to the TV side of things, we just got word that Star Trek Discovery has been renewed for a second season.
How far are you in that?
I'm still on episode 1, but I've heard it's pretty good. I think it's reviewed pretty well out the gate, and I've heard that the subsequent episodes have also been pretty good. So it's definitely on my list of things that I do want to catch up on. And I was just looking at this press release that they had, and I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but I guess they're splitting the first season somewhat in the way that a lot of the network television does it, where, they do first half of the season, then they have like a month off, and then they come back in January. So I guess they're doing that for this as well, which to me seems kind of weird given that it's airing on their app. So it's not like it really needs to follow any sort of TV broadcast schedule or anything like that.
Right. Take the Netflix point of view and dump it all at once.
Well, they're not doing that either. They're releasing it week by week.
I guess Hulu did the same thing with the Handmaid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think Hulu's generally followed a weekly schedule for a lot of its releases. I think they're doing the same thing with the Runaways, where they'll release it week by week. But like I said, I mean, it just seems like I don't really know why they would follow the typical broadcast schedule. Other, I guess maybe just trying to avoid holidays or something like that. It's the only thing I can think of. They did 6 episodes for what they're calling Chapter 1 that's going to air through the end of the year, and then they're going to do Chapter 2 of Season 1 in January when it comes back, and then Season 2 will probably be the following fall or however long it'll take to kind of get it back into production for Season 2. So, by all accounts, it seems to be pretty good. It's on my list of things to catch up on. And when I do get around to it, I'm sure I'll talk about it in one of our future episodes. So moving on to our last bit of news for the week is we got yet another trailer for Marvel's The Punisher, which we now know is coming to Netflix on November 17th, 2017. So it's less than a month away.
It falls on Justice League Day, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Same release date as Justice League.
It puts me in a rock and a hard place, I have to tell you.
It does. I'm really struggling. I'm like, oh man, which one of these is going to be better? I just can't think of what the answer to that question will be. It's just a tough thing to think about.
My man.
Oh God. Well, we saw the trailer for Justice League when we saw the movie together yesterday. We saw the trailer for it, and let's just say that seeing it multiple times has not swayed my opinion in the slightest. I don't think it's swayed yours either.
I don't know. Anyways, about the Punisher trailer, what'd you think about that?
I actually think I liked the other trailer we got a couple weeks back better. This one seemed to be a little bit more story focused in terms of kind of framing the conflict and some of the villains, I guess, that Frank Castle is going to be coming up against, which isn't to say that it was bad. I mean, it was a pretty badass trailer in its own right as well. We got Metallica's One making a reappearance, which was cool to hear. It seems like they're using that as a pretty consistent through line through some of the marketing material for this. I mean, it looks good.
That first trailer was so artistically done, though.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of why I enjoyed the first one more, is because of the way that they edited the music with like the gunfire and stuff like that. It was just a really cool trailer in terms of how it was edited, whereas I think this one's more, this is kind of what's going on in the series, more trying to get you hooked on the storyline instead of just here's some cool shit going on, and we'll hopefully that's enough. But it was enough for me, obviously, but
right.
It looks good. I mean, John Bernthal, I think, is going to kill it as the Punisher yet again. I'm really excited to see this show. There was a rumor, I guess, that was floating around that this was possibly going to be like a stealth release after New York Comic Con, but they ended up kind of canning that whole idea. They ended up canceling the Punisher's panel that they had scheduled for New York Comic Con after that mass shooting that happened in Vegas, out of respect for the victims, and probably the right call. And there was really never any confirmation on whether it was going to be released around the same time.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, I'm fine with waiting around for this. It's less than a month away.
Shortly after Stranger Things, too. You know what I mean? The Netflix has got it going on, man. The other day, I was looking for something to watch, and so I went on. I went to the categories, and then I went to Netflix original series, and they've released a bunch of shit, man. I mean, they have a bunch of things to watch. They've been pumping money into their own studio, which is really cool.
Yeah, they have. They definitely have. I do wonder how profitable their business model is. I mean, I guess it just seems like they're pouring so much money, not only into original series, but a lot of their original films they're doing as well. I just wonder if they're kind of perhaps spending far more than they can really sustain But the content's definitely there. But I think probably what they're looking at is the fact that everyone's, I think, kind of heading towards having their own streaming platforms for their own content. And so Netflix is probably trying to maintain their viability by expanding their own original content instead of being wholly reliant upon, broadcasting movies and TV shows
IPs,
from other companies. Right, exactly. So I think that's probably the main source of inspiration for why they're pursuing their business model the way that they're doing it.
You have to think about it, though. I mean, you have the Netflix and chill, right? And if you think about that, that would be something like, that's a streaming platform integrating itself into modern culture. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to think about because they're so big. Netflix has really got it going on, man. They're huge.
Yeah, I mean, say if they can sustain it, cool. Granted, I haven't watched probably most of the shit that they put out just because there is just so much of it now. But by all accounts, it does seem that a lot of their original content that they put out is generally pretty well received. So as long as they're putting the right people in charge and they're the ones giving the money for it, like, good for them. They've obviously got my credit card information, so and I'm not in any rush to cancel anything. They know they're putting out. Well, I mean, by the time Punisher comes out within the past couple months, they'll have had me watching Mindhunter, Stranger Things, and The Punisher. I mean, that's 3 separate shows in less than a 2-month span.
They put out Beast of No Nation, too. They put Beast of No Nation out, which was incredible. Did you ever watch that?
I haven't, but that was just kind of the first of many that they've done. I mean, they have a shit ton of original films on there now, like far more than I realized. So
yeah, they got a lot of good IPs for sure, but either way, I'm really excited to see The Punisher. It's going to be really good, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on, let's talk about our main topic for this week. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, we caught Only the Brave together. And this is coming to us from director Joseph Kosinski, who did Tron Legacy and Oblivion, which I got to say, when I saw the trailer for this movie, I kind of just wrote it off as, it's kind of your typical biographical film. And not that it looked bad or anything like that, but, I guess for me, I see a lot of these movies, I just kind of categorize them in the same thing where I'm just like, it's probably fine. It's nothing offensive, or, it's probably going to be well made or whatever, and it's going to be fine. But I just usually don't rush out to see them, I guess, is kind of how I feel about movies of this nature. But when I did see that Kosinski's name was attached to this, I actually did kind of pique my interest a little bit more because I really like Tron Legacy. Oblivion, I thought was enjoyable, but I didn't love it. So it seemed like an odd fit for someone that had basically done 2, very high concept science fiction movies in a row to kind of take a step back, I guess, in some ways and do something like this. But, as I was kind of alluding to with, Shane Black being attached to The Predator, it's one of those things where, okay, there's obviously a guy that has a lot of artistic vision and a lot of talent behind the lens. To see him kind of take on a project like this, like, I wonder if he can offer up something more than you might expect with something like this. And I will say that for my money, I think he did. I mean, I kind of came away pretty impressed with this movie. I mean, I do think it is still very much in that ballpark of typical biographical film in terms of kind of how it's made and everything like that. But I think there are a couple extra little flourishes and touches that I think probably maybe put it above the rest of the pack. Where did you kind of weigh in on that? I mean, how'd you like this one?
I went into it thinking that it's going to be I don't want to sound cold, but it's a movie that takes advantage of a real situation and real people. And I knew going into it that it's going to end emotionally. It was a well-made movie. It had the writing was fine. Made me laugh in a couple spots. It made a guy laugh in the theater in a couple spots, which was pretty funny. But it was just, I felt like it was a run-of-the-mill movie. It was fine, as that's how I would say it. It was a fine movie. It wasn't bad. Miles had something going on. I don't know why they went in that direction, but the guy had no eyebrows, and I don't know why he had no eyebrows, or maybe he had very small, stunted eyebrows, or maybe they were dyed so blonde that you couldn't see them. I don't know, but it looked like the dude had no eyebrows, and I had a problem with that. It's all I could look at. But other than that, it was fine. I don't think it was anything spectacular. But I will tell you, I mean, it did hit me emotionally, which I guess is something to write home about, I suppose. But that's what these movies kind of set out to do. You know what I mean? So
your takeaway for the movie is that Miles Teller, he might have had shaved eyebrows during the movie.
Yeah. The moment I saw him, I said, that dude, I thought to myself, that dude's got no eyebrows. Why would they take away that guy's eyebrows? I don't understand. Miles plays a troubled individual through the movie, and I thought maybe that they were using the makeup as a way to, I thought they were using the eyebrows as a storytelling thing to try to say, hey, listen, this guy's kind of fucked up. But as he got his life together, he continued to have no eyebrows. So, I don't know. But it was very distracting.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to spend a whole episode talking about Miles Teller's face, because it's a very punchable one. It's a very punchable face, I will tell you that.
He had no eyebrows, though.
And the eyebrows don't help, certainly don't help. We did talk about this briefly as we exited the theater, about his eyebrows, and I did agree. I thought maybe they were just trying to play it up as, like, he's just like a strung out looking dude, and so he's got no eyebrows or bleached eyebrows or whatever the case may be. I do agree. It's definitely not a good look for him. I don't know why they would deliberately style him that way. My speculation was that, this is something that's based off of a true story, and maybe the individual that he is playing in the movie had no eyebrows or had some sort of distinct look that they tried to replicate. But we see a picture of the guy as he just looks like a regular dude. So I'm like, what did they do all this for?
What happened to Miles' eyebrows? I don't understand.
I don't know. I find this is the case with some movies, is they try to get too crazy with it. I think particularly what's coming to mind right now is the upcoming Ridley Scott movie, which, again, the Ridley Scott, man, I just, every time his name pops up, he's just doing some dumb shit in his movies, but it's all the money in the world, where they have Kevin Spacey playing J. Paul Getty, and they have him caked in this most ridiculous makeup, and it just looks so artificial. Like, it doesn't look like a real person anymore. Like, I mean, yeah, you can't really tell it's Kevin Spacey under all that shit, but it just doesn't look like a real person. It's like, I understand that you kind of want to style your characters in a way that make them at least close to what they appeared in real life, but at a certain point, like, either find someone that looks closer to him, or you just take creative liberties and say, he's just that guy, all right? It's a movie, like, get over it. Like, I don't understand this whole need to make it look so ridiculous and over the top, and I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if that's a personal problem that I have, but I think it's probably to a lesser extent in this movie. I mean, Miles Teller still looks like a regular guy. He's not caked in makeup. It's mostly just the eyebrows, I think, that are throwing us off. But
yeah, dude had no eyebrows. That's pretty distracting.
I think he has eyebrows. They just might be partially shaved, or they're just bleached. Either way, again, I don't want to spend this whole episode talking about his fucking eyebrows. So,
but can you admit that you saw his eye or lack of eyebrows throughout the entire movie?
I found his look distracting. I will concur with that. How's that?
And I think what provides such a contrast is that everybody had such an impressive beard or mustache. They all had that firefighter look, and I don't know about you, but I know a couple firefighters, and every firefighter I know has a fucking mustache or something going on.
Well, I mean, it's like everyone else looks like normal fucking people, and so, like I said, they obviously deliberately chose to give him this look, and I don't know what the intent was behind it. I said I initially thought that maybe they were just trying to make him look closer to his real life counterpart, but I don't think that's the case either. Like I said, the real life guy that he plays in this movie just looks like a regular guy, so I don't know. It's just a weird stylistic choice that they made, but it didn't break the movie for me.
Maybe Miles Teller genuinely looks that way. Maybe they dye his eyebrows black so he has eyebrows. You ever think about that?
I haven't considered the possibility. It is possible. I can't discount that possibility. So getting back a little bit on track with this movie, I'd say probably it sounds, at least just from hearing your impressions, that I think I enjoyed this more than you did. Like I said, I found this to be a step above your prototypical biographical film, and I think my reasons for thinking that is I think first of all, and I think this is probably the most important thing, is that it had a really good cast.
It did.
I think that you had a lot of really talented performers in this, and I think you had a lot of them really giving very good performances. Josh Brolin, was excellent in this. Miles Teller, in spite of his punch bowl face, was also pretty excellent in this. Jeff Bridges.
He's excellent, of course.
I mean, it's Jeff Bridges, so of course he's going to give it shit. But, Jennifer Connelly was great. And even just a lot of the more kind of bit players in it. I mean, it's got my boy Taylor Kitsch in it. Tim Riggins himself from Friday Night Lights. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because he went through those few years where he was supposed to be the next big thing in Hollywood, and then John Carter and Battleship and True Detective Season 2 happened, and let's just say it didn't work out so well for him, but I thought he was pretty good in this.
No, the cast was great. I mean, the writing was good too, but I just feel like it's a generic movie to make. Does that make sense?
Well, I think that's just reflective of the type of movie that it is. It's not something I think that I would have went out of my way to see if we weren't making this podcast personally. And I think that's probably true for you as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a well-made movie. It's a well-crafted movie. It's a well-acted movie. It's just not anything that would have intrigued me otherwise. But I think compared to other of its ilk, I think it's done really well. I think probably better than a lot of movies in the same vein. And I think that's largely owed, I'd say, principally to the cast. Like I said, I mean, it's got a really talented cast, and I think all of them are particularly great. I mean, I felt that the camaraderie between a lot of the hot shots in this, which I guess I don't know if we really covered exactly what the movie's about, so very briefly, it's about these Granite Mountain Hotshots is the team that they're called, and they're just a group of elite firefighters that will stave off wildfires. They operate, I think, out of Arizona, Prescott, Arizona, I think is where they're based, and so it kind of shows the team kind of coming together. Miles Teller's kind of like I said, a troubled individual who kind of struggles to fit in, and then he kind of grows alongside these other hot shots in his unit.
Yeah, and they build that whole emotional ties to Josh Brolin's character, and they do a good job of establishing the characters. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's a decent movie. I don't want to sound like I'm down on it because it wasn't. It made me fucking cry. And I was kind of sniffing a little bit at the end and everything else. I mean, it was a good movie, but I don't think I'll see this movie again.
I mean, I'm not going to see it again in theaters myself or anything like that. I think that's just reflective of the type of movie that it is. But it's something that I would probably pick up on Blu-ray at some point in my life. And I don't think I'm going to rush out to get it day one or anything. But again, I think that's just reflective of the type of movie that it is. I mean, I think certain movies are just more rewatchable than others. And I don't think that's to speak ill of this movie or anything like that. I think that I think it's all done really well. I think it even kind of just beyond the brothership that it depicts. I thought that the relationship between Josh Brolin and Jennifer Connelly's character was handled in a really compelling manner. I felt like their relationship felt authentic. It felt the dialogue felt naturalistic. I mean, I think maybe you walk into this movie expecting some cool sequences of them fighting fires, or you kind of expect that, and I think you expect to kind of see some.
It's a character movie.
Well, they expect you to kind of to develop attachment to these characters, but I think in a lot of movies of this nature, it doesn't really work. A lot of the time, it feels superficial, and I don't think, for me, it didn't feel superficial here.
No, it doesn't. It feels like authentic people.
I think these were well-written people, were well-written characters based on real people, and I think that when you bring like a talented cast that it had and give them these roles, I think I guess it just seemed like there was more effort put into it, I think, than some other movies of this nature.
And it was shot well, and it had good cinematography, and
it was. I mean, like I said, as I was talking with Joseph Kosinski's resume in terms of Tron Legacy and Oblivion, it definitely seemed like a lot of the cinematography in this was it was very beautifully shot overall, I thought.
They did a good job of capturing the vistas. So they more than once they took a point to take landscape shots and everything else, which is kind of what the firefighters set out to protect. You know what I mean? They would actively burn things in order to run the fire out of fuel whenever it finally hit that area. And there was one point in particular where where they were training and they went up to a vista and it captured, and it happened more than once, but there was the crew and then there was the mountaintop vista of all the land and everything that they set out to protect. And it was nice. It was a beautifully shot movie. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the entire movie. It's a good movie. I don't want to sound like I don't like the movie. I don't know. It's just not my kind of movie. Like, I know that initially I was looking for another movie to watch.
To be fair, I think our initial plan for this week was to watch The Snowman, which just got absolutely trashed in the reviews, and apparently even the script wasn't entirely filmed for that movie, and they just kind of released it basically in a complete state. And so we kind of said, well, I don't know that we really want to talk about that. I don't think we really want to talk about Geostorm, even though we can do 20 minutes of, Jerry Butler impressions to fill the time. This one reviewed really well. I think it's sitting at 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So we're like, I mean, fuck, man, that's a good movie. Like, let's go see a good movie.
That's what we did. This is good. I mean, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's a well-made movie. Something doesn't sit well with me when, and you can critique me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably wrong about this, because I know that these people have a story that deserves to be told. But something sits wrong with me when people try to capitalize on it. Does that make sense? I don't know.
All right, well, let me cut you off there. We're going to go into spoilers now, unless you have opposition to that.
No, go ahead.
All right, full spoilers for Only the Brave. So, yeah, I mean, you're heavily alluding to the ending, so I wanted to get out in the open. Everyone except for Miles Teller dies at the end.
It's very emotional.
It's a big fucking downer of an ending that I certainly wasn't ready for.
I knew it was coming.
Oh, I knew something bad was coming. I think you're kind of talking about the fact with a lot of these movies is they don't make a movie about it unless something went wrong, typically.
Right.
It's kind of probably the general trend for a lot of these things. So I definitely knew something bad was coming. I guess I just either didn't remember hearing about this at the time that it happened or had forgotten.
I specifically remember watching this on the news about how these firefighters gave their lives and all this stuff, and it was a big deal. And then, like I said, I watched a movie about it, and not that these people don't deserve to have a movie made, because they do. They're heroes, and they gave their life and everything else. It's a big deal. Like I said, something just doesn't sit well with me, and I just don't like to watch them. You know what I mean? Because I know how they end, and it got me emotional at the end. I cried about it, and I cried about it because it was a well-made movie. You get attached to the characters, and it's well-made and everything else. It's a good movie. I don't know.
To me, that seems like an overly cynical point of view. I don't think that they made this movie to capitalize on people's deaths. I think that it's a pretty compelling story in its own right that they felt deserved to be shared.
That's fair.
I do agree that, you kind of know what you're getting when you walk in the door for something like this.
And maybe that's why I have a problem with it. It's one thing to go into a movie not knowing that you're going to feel emotional leaving. It's another knowing that you're going to feel emotional leaving. Does that make sense?
Honestly, I don't even think that's true. I don't think that's true because I think there's movies of this nature that have been made that try to be emotionally manipulative and then fall flat because they haven't laid the groundwork to make these characters work, to make their downer of an ending pay off in any sort of meaningful way.
Which is probably more offensive than making it emotional.
Well, I don't know that it's an attempt to be hollow. I just sometimes... Every movie doesn't turn out to be good. It's just one of those things. There's just certain things that, it's not necessarily because screenwriters didn't do their homework. It's just sometimes things don't work. Sometimes things don't coalesce. I think the way that perhaps directors or the cast really wants it to, maybe, there's different things you could point at to blame for that. So, I don't really agree with you in the sense that, I know it's going to be a sad movie. I'm going to be sad at the end of it. Yeah, it's probably going to be a sad movie, but it doesn't mean it's going to make you sad. You still have to make a movie that's effective and moving to actually move people. I didn't know the full extent of the story. I expected some shit to go down towards the end, but yeah, I didn't expect basically everyone to die. So that was kind of definitely a punch in the gut for me.
It was just so incredibly tragic to watch these people literally lie down for their death.
It was, but that's how it happened. So, this was largely inspired by a article written at GQ by Sean Flynn called No Exit. And it kind of formed the basis, I think, for the script. And I went back and read this article. There's a lot of details in that were really captured really well in the film itself. And, this is obviously the article. He spoke with the lone survivor of this tragedy. And so to see kind of the real life details as they're depicted in this article and to kind of relate them back to how we saw them in the movie, it gets you right in the feels. And I guess it worked for me. It sounded like it worked for you, but you didn't want it to work, or you were just, it's not something you cared to see in general.
I don't know how to convey what I'm trying to say. I just feel uncomfortable with it. I didn't want to go watch a movie that I knew I was going to be sad in. I knew I was going to be sad in this movie because I knew these people actually died. And that's what happened. I ended up fucking bawling, and I was sniffling, And the whole time I was laughing and getting along with the characters, and then at the end they were ripped away, and it was just a sad deal. It's fucking sad, you know. And maybe that's a reflection of the quality of the movie, because I really got attached to these characters, and I felt kind of like Jennifer Connelly when they got ripped away. You know what I mean? Jennifer Connelly come out screaming that her husband died, and it was really fucking sad, and I felt fucking sad about it. And I knew I was going to feel sad when I paid for the ticket. I don't know. Like I said, it was a really good movie. I'm not going to say that it's not, because it was. It was
You've gone from, oh, it was decent to it's good. Oh, it's really good. I feel like I've guilted you into liking the movie at this point.
You haven't guilted me into liking it. I liked the movie. I just had a hard time knowing that these people was going to die and I was going to watch them die. I had a really hard time doing that.
I mean, and, you know, it's obviously it's an uncomfortable situation, I guess, when you actually know what's coming. Maybe that's kind of where we kind of differed, is that I wasn't quite sure exactly where it would land. You know, like I said, I knew something bad was coming. I just didn't quite expect it to be that. So perhaps that's kind of where we departed in terms of our mindsets walking in the door. But I mean, for my money, I think it's worth your time in terms of getting invested in these characters. I mean, it does provide the extra punch in the gut, not just in the context of watching the movie, but then kind of relating it to the bigger picture of, well, shit, I mean, this is pretty accurate to what happened in real life. And so, not
even that, but firefighters in general, just people that put their lives on the line to protect other people. It's very compelling. It's a very touching story.
Like I said, I think it's well made, well cast, well acted, and it's affecting. And I know it won me over. It's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I know I walked in kind of. Again, a lot of movies of this nature, it's not something that I actively seek out. I don't know if it's necessarily for the same reasons as you, in terms of, you know, well, it's going to be sad. I don't think it's the case for that for me. I just find that, I don't know, it's not my preferred genre of choice, I guess. But I'm glad I sat down and watched this.
I think it's different when you remember the thing that happened. Like, for example, okay, this is a really good example. I haven't watched one 9/11 movie. Have you watched any 9/11 movies?
I think I saw United 93.
Okay, I haven't seen one 9/11 movie.
I'm not opposed to watching a 9/11 movie. I understand kind of where you're coming from with that. Obviously, that's something that I guess both of us are probably a lot more cognizant of. I guess I kind of see where you're coming from, but I know if they're trying to tell a story that's going to be well told and well made, then I'm not opposed to watching it. I agree. It's not my genre of choice. I've said as much already, but you know, if they put something out in the future that looked compelling enough for me to sit down and watch it, I wouldn't avoid it because of the subject matter. Certainly, I don't know that I would be there day one to see it, just because it's not a Marvel movie. It's not a Star Wars movie. It's not something that's going to put my ass in seat day one, because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I mean, it's a very different type of movie. And I guess maybe you just have to kind of know what you're doing walking in the door, or
maybe not. If you don't know what you're going into to see, it's a very good movie.
All right. I think that'll about do it for us on this. Let's go ahead and kind of give our overall recommendation. So, for those who are not aware, our rating scheme is go watch it in theaters, wait for the Blu-ray to catch it, whether that's renting or buying, however you have it, and then waiting for Netflix or waiting for someone to pay you to see it. Andrew, where do you stand on this?
Get this movie on Blu-ray. It's a well-made movie. I don't think it's necessarily an experience that you need to have in a theater, but I do think that it's probably a story worth experiencing. I think it's probably worth picking up on a Blu-ray.
I will wholeheartedly endorse that sentiment there. I agree. For us, we saw it probably because of a lack of other options. I don't know that we would have seen it otherwise. And probably that's telling of kind of how we feel about this genre in general, but I'm glad that we did. I think it's a good movie. It isn't necessarily something that I think demands a theater experience. If you have a movie pass and you've got nothing better to do, it's certainly worth your time.
It's actually probably cheaper to watch it on a movie pass than it is to buy it on Blu-ray.
Oh, if you have a movie pass, that is, and you're not waiting the 6 weeks to get your damn card. Yeah, I agree. Waiting for a Blu-ray for this one. It's got a lot of technical aspects that I think would shine. Just as much on a proper home theater environment than as they would in a regular theaters. So and it's just a good story. That's I think worth your time. So that's Only the Brave. So Andrew, what you been up to this past week?
This past week I actually finished The Handmaid's Tale.
Ooh, how was it?
It was ridiculously good. It was a good movie, or a good show. I highly, highly recommend you watch it.
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's really good. Hits you in the feels in a lot of different spots. It's incredibly fucked up. It's shot really well. The colors are excellent. I mean, just the palette the whole show shot on is just really something to write home about. The content matter is twisted. The characters are compelling. I can't think of one short spot the show falls on. It's a really good, well-made show. Highly recommend it. Other than that, I started Final Fantasy XIII, which I played a long time ago, but I didn't quite finish. And my girlfriend, she has never played it, but she likes Final Fantasy, and so I started her on that, and she seems pretty compelled to finish it, so we'll see how that goes. And I think that's thanks to you, I had a birthday, and you gave me a...
Yes, I gave birth to you. You're welcome.
No, you didn't give birth to me, but you gave me a Super Nintendo, which is equally as important.
Arguably more.
I don't know about that, but it is pretty fucking cool. And I actually did not know that I enjoyed as many Super Nintendo titles as I had. I knew that I had a handful of titles that I really liked, but I didn't know that I actually enjoyed more titles than I did.
Well, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, the Super Nintendo, I think, is kind of there was a pretty big generational gap between that and the original Nintendo, where I think the original Nintendo, most of the games were kind of short gameplay loops overall, and if I went back and played a lot of them, I'd play them for 5-10 minutes and then be satisfied with my experience and walk away and never revisit them, whereas I think Super Nintendo is kind of where games started to offer so much more.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at Chrono Trigger and a lot of the RPGs that came out, Zelda, Link to the Past, like just really, really in-depth experiences with a lot of these games. And the Super Nintendo in particular there's just so many good things about it that, yeah, I agree. It's a ridiculous lineup.
It's almost where it all started, almost. You know what I mean?
Well, for me, it's the nostalgic sweet spot because that's what I grew up watching my brothers play for the most part. Starting to play myself, wasn't really good at most of them back in the day. But yeah, I mean, that's the system for me that kind of got me really, I think, probably really started on gaming. So you hooked up your little SNESy classic. What's the first game you played on it?
Well, initially I tried out Super Smash. Jesus Christ. Super Mario. It was really good. I played the first 2 levels and thoroughly impressed. And then what I did was I actually went through. I clicked on Final Fantasy III. I think is what's on there.
Which is actually Final Fantasy VI for those listening. It's very confusing.
It's all messed up, but and it looked just like Chrono Trigger, and it got me even more stoked. I mean, since you picked up that thing and I figured out that it was coming to me, I've been super stoked to pick up Chrono Trigger again. I remember thoroughly enjoying that video game. So I have to hack it and I guess root it or whatever it is and figure out how to get that on the console because I am very much looking forward to play that video game again.
Chrono Trigger, my favorite game of all time.
Is it your favorite game of all time?
It is.
Why is it your favorite game of all time?
Because, well, I mean, I love Japanese RPGs as it is. I think that's just got such a super diverse cast of characters and the right blend of combat system and the humor in it and just the story and the way that it just kind of sprawls throughout time. It's the perfect combination for me of story, gameplay, and the 16-bit visual style is it's a beautiful game as well. And it's one of the few, I think, RPGs back in the day that didn't have random encounters, which I'm not a huge fan of. It has, you have to visually see your enemy on the screen and properly engage them to go into the turn-based combat. So it's just everything for me. Part of it's, I think, probably nostalgia as well, but it holds up. Like it 100% holds up in this day and age. It's a timeless game. And I think that's probably a true mark of an excellent video game.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I'm excited to pick that up.
Was that it for you?
Yeah, that's probably up for me. What have you been up to?
Well, I've been trying to catch up on the TV shows that I've been missing out on for the past couple weeks. So I am now caught up on The Gifted on Fox. That's the X-Men show that's not Legion. So it's pretty solid so far, I will say. I've watched the first 3 episodes. I guess at the time that this podcast released, there'll be a 4th that's out that I obviously hadn't had a chance to watch as of recording this. But 3 episodes in, I'm digging it. It's not anything amazing, but I enjoy them kind of playing with some lesser-known mutants. You know, we got Blink, who we saw briefly in Days of Future Past. She can open up the portal. She's got like purple hair and green eyes and markings on her face and stuff. She's a cool character.
What kind of portals does she open up?
Like
time portals?
No, to travel to different locations, so she can teleport basically, but she has to use portals to travel. So
she can teleport other characters, kind of like a Nightcrawler.
Yeah, but she can open portals that other people can travel through. There's like a moment, I think, towards the beginning of episode 2 where she doesn't really have like a great control over her portals, and so she opens it and goes to like this random street, and like a truck drives into it, and then she's able to close off the portal, and it basically slices the truck in half. So the momentum from the truck carries forward, and basically like they have to like run away from it. It's pretty cool. It was a cool visual moment, and it's a cool way to play with portals. But no, it's a cool show. Like I said, it's got some mutants in it that are cool to see that we really haven't seen depicted in any other live action medium. Thunderbird is in it. He's a Native American mutant who's kind of like super strong and has like a really enhanced tracking ability. Polaris, who is one of Magneto's daughters, who also has the ability to control metal. She's pretty cool. And I guess pretty much the whole frame story for it is it's a family whose kids kind of discover that they have mutant powers, and then basically there's an incident that happens that basically puts them on the run. So they're trying to escape from the government, and there's like these laws that basically mutants are treated like shit. And so the bad guys are like, and this is something I find a little cornball personally, like the bad government task force that's out for them is called the Sentinel Services. So it's kind of a play on, you know, the Sentinels from the TV shows, except they're just not big robot things. They're just kind of dudes that are called Sentinels. That to me just feels very TV. I'm not a big fan of that personally.
Is it Legion quality?
No, it's not. It's not anywhere close to Legion quality. I'd say it's probably early season Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. quality. So it feels very networky, but I think it's still a step above your CW tier television. So I'm not going to tell you to go out and run out and watch it, but it's something that I was interested in anyway, and I think it's well enough made for me to keep watching it. And the only other things that I've been watching, I'm trying to catch up on the CW stuff that's all come back on. I think I've been talking about that for a couple of weeks now on our catching up section, and still not quite caught up. I'm really not even close, but I have watched the premieres of both Supergirl and The Flash. And I will probably be watching the premieres for Legends tomorrow and Arrow and Riverdale at some point over the next week or so. And I think they're all through their second episode at this point, so I'm more than a week behind. But my initial impressions is that they're still about the same as they were before. It's not going to change your mind if you didn't care for what came before. My very, very early power rankings for the CW shows so far, of which there's only 2 that will be included, is that Supergirl so far is better than The Flash this season. But neither are particularly good. Not that bad. They're just not. They're exactly what they are. And as of now, they have not stepped their game up in any sort of way. So that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to finish up on the CW shows. Mr. Robot's back on, so I want to catch up on that. Vice Principals on HBO. I want to catch up on. Second season's been on for a little while now. It's actually probably pretty close to being done at this point.
That's the one with
It's Danny McBride and Walt Goggins.
Yeah, Danny McBride. That's it. Yeah.
It's the first season's hilarious. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, I would definitely recommend going back and checking the first season out.
He was on an HBO show before where he was a baseball player or something, right?
Yeah, Eastbound and Down. He was Kenny fucking Powers.
Yeah, Kenny Powers is pretty funny.
You're fucking out, I'm fucking in by Kenny Powers. Narrated by Kenny Powers.
Kenny Powers was also in Tropic Thunder.
He was.
Yeah, Kenny Powers is pretty cool. I like Kenny Powers.
So that's it for me. Yeah, I think this next week I'm going to try to rewatch Stranger Things, given that Season 2 is coming out. I feel like I can get through Season 1 pretty easily. I picked up the little Blu-ray set that Target put out. It's kind of like styled like a VHS digipack, it's pretty cool packaging.
So this week and next week you're going to be eating up, well, this week and then this weekend you'll be eating up Stranger Things. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm kind of going all Stranger Things, and if I have time, I might try to fit in some horror movies in there to get into the spirit of Halloween. But I don't know. I got work and shit too, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I might try to rewatch Stranger Things. It's what, 8 episodes?
Yeah, it's 8 episodes.
When it first came out, I know I watched a ton of I watched it all within like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. I'm very excited about the new one, or season 2, I should say. Very excited.
This seems like a pretty good stopping point, since we'll have plenty to touch on next week with Stranger Things Season 2, given that it will be our topic of the week. So we urge our listeners to check us out next week when we talk Stranger Things. And for those that are still with us at the moment, thank you for listening to our latest episode. We appreciate all the support you guys give us. You can find us at watchreviewrepeat.com. That's going to have everything you're going to need to get in touch with us, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, just finding any of our podcast feeds, anything like that. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And our Gmail, if you want to get in touch with us there, is watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. So that'll do it for us here at Watch Review Repeat. Have a good week, guys.
Adios.